Here we're going to talk about exponents, and they are also called powers. And so when you see a number written where you have your number, but then there is a smaller, it's written smaller up and to the right of that number, that is an exponent or a power. And what that means is that this is called, the big number is called the base. So we have the base and the exponent. And what that means is that you're going to multiply the base times itself this many times. And so some people, when they see this, they'll just multiply these together, 6 times 4. That is not what an exponent is, and that's one way they're going to get you in the test, because if they say, you know, what is 6 to the 4th power, some people will just do 6 times 4, and one of the multiple choice answers will likely be 24. That is not correct. What it means is you take the base, so here's 6, and you multiply it times itself the exponent number of times. So in this case, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. So you take the base, 6, multiplied by itself 4 times. 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. If you plug that into your calculator, you're going to get 1,296. If you have 5 to the second, that means you take the base number 5 times itself 2 times. 1, 2. So 5 times 5, 25. Now this is a special case when you have a 2 up here. And so when you have a 2, the terminology associated with that is it's squared. So this is read 5 squared because it's a 2. Anytime you see a 2, it means squared. So they might actually ask you in words, you know, what is 12 squared? So if you see it in words, you have to know that squared means 2. So what is 12 squared? You would write it as 12 with a 2 as an exponent. And so what does that mean? 12 times 12, because you have the base number 12 times itself 2 times. 12 times 12 equals 144. The other special case is cubed. So if you have a 3 up there, again, what does that mean? 7 times 7 times 7. 3 is 1, 2, 3. You can just multiply that out. You get 343. But if you have a 3, it's called cubed. So you again might see this in words on the test, and you need to know, if you see the words, you know, what is 9 cubed, that's a 3. So you would write it 9 cubed, 1, 2, 3, because this is a 3. You can throw that into your calculator and you get 729. So 2 things that you really need to memorize. The word squared means that the exponent is to the second. The word cubed means that the exponent is a 3. There are 2 other special cases. If something is raised to the 0 power, so you have 8 is your base number, but the exponent is 0. Anytime something is raised to the 0, the answer is always 1 by definition. So it doesn't really matter what number. You can have any number here. If it's raised to the 0 power, it's 1. The answer is always 1 by definition. The other one is if it's raised to the 1st power. If it's raised to the 1st power, it's just the base number. So you can think about, you remember if we have a 2 up there, we're going to write 2 73s down. Well, we just have 1, so we're just going to write the same number down. So again, by definition, if you have an 8 to the 1st power, it's just the base number. So these, again, things you want to memorize. Anything to the 0 power, the answer is going to be 1. Anything to the first power, it's just whatever that base number is. Now, one thing that you're going to want to know is that you can do this on your calculator. And so if you have not watched the video on how to use the calculator, you need to watch that on the Facebook page. But there's 2 buttons you need to be aware of when you're dealing with exponents. One of them has an x squared on it. The other has this, it looks like a mountaintop, or it's called a caret sign. You need to know those 2 buttons if you want to easily do exponent questions. So, for example, let's say they give you, what is 3 squared? If this is a 2, so it's squared, you're going to use this button. And so how you would input that into the calculator, and again, watch the video. You would press the 3, then this x squared button, and then enter, and you're going to get the answer, 9. If it's not a 2, so the clue should be this says x squared, right? So you're only going to use that if the exponent is a 2. If it's not a 2, here we have to the 4th power, you're going to use the caret sign. So you would put in 6, caret, then you would type in 4, whatever that exponent is, and then you would hit the enter button. So you'd type 6, then the caret, that's not an N, it's a caret sign. Then the 4, because that's the exponent, so you do the base, the caret, the exponent, enter. And if you put that in, you're going to get the answer. So that's kind of a shortcut way. By using that calculator, you need to know how to use the calculator to do exponents. So instead of typing in 6 times 6 times 6 times 6, which you certainly can do in your calculator, you can do it kind of a faster way. But either way, you're going to get the same answer. I'm just trying to show you a little bit of a shortcut by using the calculator. All right, one more topic to cover, and this is going to be negative exponents. So let's say you have 2 to the negative 3. When this exponent is negative, it has absolutely nothing to do with negative numbers. Your answer isn't necessarily going to be a negative number. So all this means is that it's going to be a reciprocal. So let me show you what that means. The way you want to solve this problem is, first of all, just ignore that it's negative. So what is 2 cubed? 2 times 2 times 2, right? 3 times. And it's 8. But we don't want to know what 2 cubed is. We want to know what 2 to the negative 3 is. So you first just find out what it would be normally, and then you find the reciprocal of that number. So 8 is really 8, 1. Reciprocal just means you flip it. So 8 over 1. So to get the reciprocal, you flip it, so it's 1 over 8. So 2 to the negative 3 is 1 over 8. But the easiest way that I think you can find that is by just assuming it's positive, find the answer, and then just flipping the fraction, or putting a 1 over that number. So we'll do one more. If we have 16 to the negative 4, you find first what is 16 to the 4th. 16 times 16 times 16 times 16, right? 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to get 65,536. That's 16 to the 4th. But you don't want to know 16 to the 4th. You have to go back and know you want to the negative 4th. So 16 to the negative 4th is you're just going to flip that on its head in fractional form. 1 over 65,536. So that is what your final answer is going to be. So if you see a negative exponent, don't think it has something to do with negative numbers. It means just find the answer if it was positive and then flip the fraction or put a 1 over the answer.